that's what we've loved about real estate. It started us out like just immigrants coming into this town and into the United States with nothing, literally nothing. And it's allowed us to have this home here in Hawaii. We have helped friends and family along the way to grow their portfolios, and we used to borrow money from people, and we still do with other different projects, but now it's given us the ability to become lenders ourselves. So we're really excited about that.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Journey to Multifamily Millions podcast. I'm your host, founder and CEO of Zana Investments, Tim Little. And on today's show, we have with us Srey Rollins. Srey is a principal and managing partner at Oshling Investment Group, where she oversees operations and acquisitions. Srey, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Tim. I'm super excited to be here today.
Yeah, it's great to have you. And we're going to get into what you're up to these days and dive into the importance of mindset and some other things. But before we do that, please tell us how you got started on your real estate journey and how you got to where you are today.
Oh, I think like most Americans who are working, you may have been laid off in the past. And that's how my journey actually started in my years of leadership and management, 24 years actually, 45 this year. After the first time that I got laid off, I realized that no matter how hard I worked, how well I did my job, there was always going to be something that was going to happen that was out of my control. So as the unofficial C-suite executive of my family, I realized that in order to make that change, I was going to have to do something about it where I could be actively investing. So I started out our family with single family homes. A lot of people start out that way, right? Mm-hmm. So single family homes and then duplexes. We started doing multifamily, fix and flips, wholesaling, short-term arbitrage. And eventually I landed into the commercial space of multifamily investing. And as of November of this year, we just wrapped up a portfolio of 9 properties with 200 plus doors. So super excited about that.
All right. So you listed a lot of things that you tried along your road to get to commercial real estate, multifamily. Talk to me about what that progression looked like. I assume you started off with single family and then you were like, hey, a duplex makes more sense. How did the fix and flip enter into there, and how long were you doing that before you decided, no, this is another full-time job, I don't want to do this? Or maybe that wasn't your thoughts while you were doing it. Let me know.
Yeah, so I actually started because one of those ladies that love watching HGTV, right?
Of course.
That's why I'm seeing all these people do it, and I'm like, how are they getting this done? So I joined a mastermind, actually, got a mentorship, and they taught us how to move from using your own money to invest and start using other people's money to invest. So I learned that was the first step in raising my financial IQ. And that's a huge part of Oshling's thought process, is helping our investors, and what we call financial friends, raise their financial IQ. So we started there and learned about what's the proper way to underwrite, how can I do this with a small amount of money of my own, and also take the money that I do have and not tie it up in just one property. I can tie it up in a couple different properties while I utilize other people's money for me. And we would drive by these big apartment buildings and we're like, gosh, I want to own one day. How do we do that? How do we own one of these one day? And we didn't learn about it really until this past year about multifamily syndications. Again, using other people's money and working together in things like syndications in order to achieve and scale your dreams much quicker. So that's what we've been doing. And since then, it's just been a whirlwind of opportunities, meeting wonderful people, and our business it keeps scaling all the time.
And there certainly is like a learning curve when you go through those different asset types, right? And I think one of the benefits is that some of those lessons carry over into the next asset. If you go from single family to a duplex, obviously there's skill sets and tools that carry over. I feel like the fix and flip is a different animal. There's some things that obviously can carry over. But talk to me about when you say other people's money, who are these people? Were you using like hard money lenders? Were you getting friends and family to invest in some of these initial deals? What did that look like?
Yeah, great question. So in our first duplex, it was someone actually approached us who knew us, liked us, and wanted to do business with us. And he had used all the resources that he could in his circle of friends. So he had the funds to deposit on a multifamily on a duplex, but he didn't have any more credit. So we actually partnered together. We provided the necessary credit, good credit score, debt to income ratio, and all that, and he provided the down payment. So that was our first transition from single family homes to duplexes, was just in a relationship where we both benefited, and then we, got a couple more duplexes in that manner and liquidated it and then move forward.
Yeah, and I think that's a really important point because, a lot of people just ask a question like, oh, I want to invest in real estate, but I don't know how to get started. Or, I want to buy multifamily, but I don't know how to get started. I don't know what I bring to the table. But that's really to your point about how you guys did it. It was a mutually beneficial relationship, right? Someone had the skills, someone had the money, whatever the case is. And that's what I tell a lot of people that are looking to get into this business who may have only done single family, which is very individualized. You could do it all yourself.
Yes.
It's not always fun, but you could do it all yourself. But when you come over to that multifamily side of things, it's more of a team sport. And so if you're looking to break in, you really have to find what value you're providing, whether that's doing the underwriting because you're amazing with numbers, or you have capital to bring to the table, or you have relationships with brokers. Whatever the case may be, you have to be able to convey what value you're bringing to the table in order to get into that side of the business.
Yeah. And for us, it was good credit. Who would have thought that what your parents told you in school taught you actually paid off? It was. My husband started out, his career was a pilot. He was a commercial airline pilot. And the same thing. He started out in his first year as a pilot. He actually qualified for, technically, he could have applied. He qualified for food stamps back then. And he was like, this is not going to get me to where I need. This is not going to build the legacy or create the passive income and whatnot that he wanted to have. So that's how it all started on my husband's side. Before we had just dated when he started that journey. We've just built that portfolio together of different types of investments.
Yeah, and as we're walking down this investing road, so usually there's like a jump up, a transition point when you go from that duplex, triplex, even quadplex to commercial multifamily, something larger than 4 units, 5 or more. What did that look like for you? How were you able to get into your first commercial multifamily deal, and what did that deal look like?
Okay. So our first deal we invested in was an LP. Some of your listeners probably already know you're a limited partner. You don't make any of the decisions that are happening within the investment. But as an LP, we were able to learn about what the general partners were doing. But you are sitting in on some of the meetings, learning about some of the decisions that they're making. You get to ask, why are you making these types of decisions? Why is this project to elevate that particular investment property done before another one, right? Why did they choose this property manager? So as we chose to start out with investing first as an LP to get to learn some of the language, get to know some of the people, start building relationships. And then from there, that's how we moved into the GP side.
Yeah, and that's what I was alluding to, because it would have been a little surprising to me if you had gone directly into the active side, because so many people, myself included, start out as LPs, and for the listeners, that's limited partner, because you don't necessarily have decision-making capability, but you're able to get access, right? You're able to ask questions. You're able to learn, understand the underwriting, how it's done, what the priorities are in the deal. And I found that hugely valuable to me, because there's kind of 2 ways if you want to be on the active side to be a general partner or GP, you can do it. You can either go for coaching, mentoring, and just dive right in, or you can be a limited partner first and do what I call learn while you earn. So you can
Yeah.
either pay $25,000 to $50,000 for someone to teach you while you do it,
Hmm.
or you can invest $25,000 to $50,000 and hopefully make a good return
Hmm.
while you have this access and are able to ask the questions that you want and see the deals play out right before your eyes. And I think that's a huge advantage, not just because of the learning aspect, because it helps you really understand the passive investor's perspective, right?
Journey. Yeah. In their
It,
journey. Yeah, for sure. And we initially went in the other route that you were saying, where you join a mastermind and you jump into acquisitions and operations. We actually started out in that avenue, but while we were looking at different properties, I was doing the underwriting. As we were building these relationships, other opportunities came across my desk. So that's how we ended up investing in that first deal as an LP. But we were already on the journey to just jump, right in. But in God's timing is His timing, and the opportunity came in a different way. But that's how it all unfolded for us.
awesome. And so again, what did that first deal that you did as a GP look like? Was that a deal that you found, or did you start working with another general partner who had the deal and then you guys brought something to the table like we talked about before?
Yeah. So in this particular one, where we are working with an operator, and they are making much of those decisions. And what I'm bringing to the table, and this part is the capital,
Mhm.
a component of the capital. We're raising quite a bit, and that's how that's going to go.
Yeah, because people need to understand the deals don't happen without capital, right?
Yes.
And a lot of times these operators are doing the day-to-day running and putting together of these deals, finding the right property managers, working with legal, all those things that also need to happen. And not every partner can do that. And so
Yes.
that's why, again, we have those different roles that come into play in these deals. And it's important that people understand that.
Hmm.
All right. Multifamily it's a pretty competitive space, right? For a little while, like I felt like everybody was doing it. And while I would say most of the people that I've interacted with in this industry are pretty cordial and supportive, the business itself can get stressful, as anyone who has been in it within the past year or two can tell you. Tell me how you stay positive in this business and stay motivated, even when things get a little bumpy like they have in the past year or two.
Okay. I'm going to be completely transparent with you. Some days I have a type A personality. I'm someone that when I set a goal, I like to accomplish it.
Sure.
And when your goal, your why, your mission statement is to help people and empower people, to help them grow. And so it became a part of me to want to spread this knowledge so that people can have this ability for them to create wealth or create the legacy the way that they define it. When I wasn't able to articulate the business model to someone and they decide not to invest, it actually made me feel like I failed in my journey to help them. But what I've learned over time is, one, they have to be willing and wanting to raise their financial IQ. They have to be open to receiving that information. And again, God's timing is not my timing. So maybe it wasn't the right timing. So that's what has gotten me through it, is as long as I keep going, it's not that I haven't personally failed. It's just they weren't ready to hear the information. The timing wasn't right. And I just keep pressing forward. My success and the success of our organization doesn't rest solely on me. I have an entire team of people that are helping us create those opportunities for people. And as long as we stay true to our brand promise, then that's what keeps us going every day.
Yeah, no,
Me going.
You're absolutely right. That timing is a huge part of investing, right? Maybe you caught them right after they had just invested in another deal and they don't have any capital available right now. Or
Yeah.
sometimes it's a matter of the deal not being a good fit for that investor, whether it's because of their risk tolerance or what they're interested in right now. So all you
Yeah.
can do is make it available to them and have a good understanding of what it is they're looking to do. And then the rest is up to them.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I've come to terms with is my role, my purpose here is to provide people with information, a new way, maybe a different way. And if they're ready to receive it and can step away from some of the fear that's involved in doing something new, perhaps we can grow something wonderful together. And that's what's kept me going.
Yeah, and let's dig into that a little bit in terms of in your talks with investors or potential investors, what is the biggest element of fear that you see creeping up in those conversations? Is it fear of just not being familiar with the asset, because so many people have never even heard of real estate syndication, right? For us, it's obvious because we were in the industry. So we're like, oh, everybody knows about it. But that's not the case at all. Is it just lack of awareness that you usually see, or is it something else?
It's a lack of awareness coupled with what is known, what I have, as I've spoken with other people, is money traumas. So there was one investor in particular, and I've actually never met the actual investor. I've only dealt with the person's daughter who, like myself, handles the family's financials. And they had a bad experience with passive investing. So going forward, their grandfather said, as a family, as we invest moving forward, we are not doing passive investments. We are active in everything we do. So even though she has grown her financial IQ and have presented different opportunities for her family, that fear that was instilled has prevented them from reaching out and trying new things. Now, since our conversation and we talked about that fear, I pointed out to her that, oh, that's a money trauma. And we had the opportunity to speak on that money trauma. It's opened her eyes and also opened her father's eyes as well. So now they're open to actually investing in this type of passive investing because we've learned about some of the pros and cons and things of that nature. But that's what it is. It's that money trauma. That's what I've seen with the people that I've been speaking with, and all ages, all sorts of background. Their experiences with money have shaped how they're going to invest and will invest.
That's really interesting because I think so many people assume that it's just the numbers, right? Show me the numbers on this deal, and that will dictate whether someone invests. But I think you and I both know that's usually not the case. It's not what they're actually worried about.
No.
Most of it comes down to either trust or, like you said, money trauma. So more of that psychological aspect that it isn't what you would think right off the bat, but is more often than not the case.
And I think for myself, I could admit that's one of the things that I have a challenge with in raising capital. In my previous role in healthcare, my last position was a solutions analyst. If there's a problem, I give you a solution. But in this type of relationship, it's not about the math. The math can math all it wants. Right. But if the person is not emotionally tied to it in some way, it's what I'm finding the most, they won't invest. And it's not hard, but it's challenging to just help them open their eyes and consider new things. And that takes time. In any relationship, it takes time. So I would say to other people who are out there trying to raise capital, whatnot, give yourself grace, give your team grace. It takes time to build these relationships and get people to try something new.
Yeah, that's why I always think it's hilarious when I see these pitches about becoming an active investor, and they're like, become financially free, in one deal. And I'm like, no, that's not how this works. Actually, I'll let everyone choose their own path. You talk a lot about the financial IQ. And I also saw in your bio that your brand promise is to empower, build, and breathe. Can you break those down and explain to me what exactly that means from your perspective?
Yeah, I'd love to. So the investor journey is really important for us. At Oshling, we feel that it is our purpose to help our investors steward. When you're investing with us, we're just stewards of that money. And as a proper steward, the first thing we want to do is understand what that legacy is that you want to create. Like, what is that definition? And everybody has a definition of legacy. For myself, we don't have children. Another story, another time. We've tried for many years. So our legacy is not for our direct children, but in the nonprofit that we want to open, it's the amount of monetary monies that we want to provide to our church. It's the type of aid that we want to give to single parents and survivors of sexual traumas. That's the legacy that we want to leave behind. So with our investors, that empowerment starts with first helping them and them sharing with us what is legacy for them, right? And then we empower them by raising their financial IQ, by joining our capital community. They're learning about different ways to invest, different ways to access capital in passively or actively. So from there, as we empower them, they start to build. The building is the investing. Now you're starting to pull the different ways of you to access capital, whether it's a tax-free account, whether it's self-banking or infinite banking, whatever it is that might be a good plan for them. They start to build. And the breathe portion is that once you have raised that financial IQ, once you start building it, you can now take a breath and not feel so pressured that you're not achieving what it is you've set out for yourself and your family. So it's just that sigh of relief that we want our investors to experience.
Yeah, I like that last one because that was the one I was more curious about was the breathe. And it all makes sense now that I hear you explain it. Because, yeah, the best deals, as far as I'm concerned, for my investors are the ones where they don't have to think about, yeah, they get their monthly update and they're like, great, everything's going awesome. These things are not short term. This is not like day trading. These are 5 to 7 year timelines that we're talking about.
Sometimes.
And if they're anxious about that entire period, we are doing a disservice. That's exactly what I'd like to see is that breathe where they can finally relax and be like, okay, I know things are going well. If things are not going well, Tim will let me know. But for now, everything's looking great.
Yeah. And it's really quite interesting when we talk about the things that prevent people from investing, that money trauma. A lot of investors, they put their money in the stock market. And I would say 8 out of 10 people that I've spoken with, they have no idea what the returns are. They're just setting and forgetting. But then when you offer this new opportunity where they could also set and forget, it's a bit scary. But it's really the same thing. And,
exactly. And why is it scary? Just because they aren't exposed to it all the time, right? It's not on CNBC. It's not on Bloomberg all the time. But it's just as common for higher net worth individuals to invest in these type of products as it is stocks. So it shouldn't be scary. We just need to shine the light on it. That's all.
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome. So tell me a little more about Oshling nowadays, what you guys are investing in, and if you foresee that changing at all over the next couple of years, just based on what you're seeing.
Okay, great question. So as we've gotten ourselves into rooms with different people that are smarter than me, have higher financial IQs and are wealthier, in that relationship building, we have been approached by other types of investors who are doing boutique hotels. They're doing, help me out here, luxury assisted living resorts, things like that. So we are looking to branch into not just multifamily investing, but in boutique hotels and potentially as luxury assisted living resorts too.
Yeah, and that brings to mind the fact that there are so many different types of commercial real estate out there. People just think, oh, apartment buildings. That is not it, right? Like you said, there's assisted living, luxury assisted living, and so many others. You have your traditional value add multifamily, which is what I was in for most of this time. But now I'm starting to look at ground up development just because it may make more sense in the current environment that we're in. And you have to keep assessing, right? It may not make sense to do the same type of product in perpetuity. You may need to adjust based on what the market looks like, returns, etc. That's awesome that you guys are looking into those less common things. There's stuff that I've seen that I'm not necessarily ready to jump into yet, like car washes is one that I've seen a lot. And I live in Florida. I know the value of a car wash because there's one like every mile, to the point where I'd be more concerned about saturation than anything else. And then ATMs and stuff like that. But I think it's just a matter of educating yourself once you move into those different assets, because obviously they're going to have different considerations, right? And
Yeah.
valuations. And as long as you guys understand that and you're able to communicate it to your investors, then you might be able to find those hidden gems out there that others might be missing because they're not looking at those different asset types.
You brought up a really good point, actually, segue into something else that Oshling is moving into. So we are launching our new vertical in February as capital lenders ourselves. We will be lending capital out to different types of developers, whether it's in multifamily or fix and flips, things of that nature. So that's something that we are going to be launching, and really excited to see where that vertical is going to take us.
Now, let's jump into that then. So are you, since you brought it up, what is that going to look like? Is that going to be like a fund that you're going to run in terms of your taking in investor capital, vetting the deals of other operators, and then investing that way with capital, or something different?
Something different. So
Okay.
when we are capital lending, that's going to be something that we're actually loaning privately. We are not intending on taking other investors at this time. And for those, we do have some investors that want to grow their wealth with smaller money moves. So they got a couple grand and stuff. So in our Oshling Investment Group syndication, and sometimes we do fund to funds and whatnot, the people that want to invest with us in that way, they would invest through Oshling Investment Group. But with Oshling Capital, we are just loaning out money. We're not going to be partnering, taking on other investors with us at this time. And we might, because eventually people run out of funds.
No, money is always a problem. So if you're able to provide that as a solution, you'll
Yes.
always be in demand. So
Yeah,
that's
and
good.
that's what we've loved about real estate. It started us out like just immigrants coming into this town and into the United States with nothing, literally nothing. And it's allowed us to have this home here in Hawaii. We have helped friends and family along the way to grow their portfolios, and we used to borrow money from people, and we still do with other different projects, but now it's given us the ability to become lenders ourselves. So we're really excited about that.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you talk about the financial IQ, and that just makes me think about financial literacy, which I think is something that's, woefully missing in, one, our schools, but two, society in general. And I'm a huge advocate for
Yes.
not just my own kids, but anyone who will listen in
Yeah.
terms of making them smarter so that they can make smarter decisions for themselves about their own money and how to grow it, and not just go with whatever it was their parents did and their parents before them. Because if their parents are like my parents, they didn't necessarily have money to invest, so they didn't know anything about investing. And so therein lies the problem with a lot of people. And yeah, raising that financial IQ, that financial literacy is a big part of my mission as well.
That's wonderful. That's something that we share the same passion in that regard. I actually started reaching out to different high schools in the area to speak and share with these young minds about all the different things that you can do in real estate. And I'm still advocating for them to go to college. That's super important. For me, I feel like that is important. And trust me, there are many people that have created a lot of wealth and prosperity without going to college. But being that I'm speaking at a high school gym, I encourage that quite a bit. But I want to open their eyes. And it's really interesting because they'll go to their parents and be like, hey, have you heard of this? And then their parents are like, who the heck are you?
No, that's awesome. All right, we do have to transition to the turbo round now. So I'm going to
Okay.
ask you 3 questions that I ask every guest, and I'm just going to ask you for a quick, honest answer. You ready to go?
Okay, here we go.
All right, first question. What is one red flag every investor should look out for?
Promises that don't come with the word projected. If people are saying that you will get this in absolution, it's a major red flag for me, because there's so many things in investment that you have no control over. So it's important that the person is using words that will let you know that they're making their business model with conservative numbers.
Yes. And I would say if you ever see the word guaranteed in an investment, then you should probably just run away. Because as much as we like real estate and it's backed by something real, something physical that we can see and add value to, unlike stocks, which are pieces of paper representing companies, which are something, but it's not the same thing as something that's backed up by brick and mortar, etc. There's still risk involved in any investment. So yeah, if that sponsor is not making that clear, then they are not doing that part of their job.
Absolutely.
All right. What is a myth about this business that you would like to set straight?
About the business, I'm sure this myth, people have heard it time and time again, but it still rings true today, and that you need to have massive amounts of wealth in order to create wealth. Yes, you need to have some money to start the game, but you can start as little as a couple grand, right? The single mom or a family who got their tax return, they can use that money to start a small investment, joining capital groups like just myself or others out there, where you're just putting small money moves in to create wealth. You don't need a huge amount. You can buy your first investment property. There are loans out there. It's with 0% down.
Yep, it's certainly possible. And like, I'm in the military, and any military member who will listen, I'll say, hey, use your VA loan, because a VA loan you can use 0% down.
Yeah,
and everybody's situation is different, so I'm not necessarily saying that's the best choice for everyone. And don't get ahead of your skis in terms of what you can afford. But there's unique aspects to it, like buying a duplex with your VA loan and being able to count the rent for that second unit as to qualify, etc. Living in one side and renting out the other, where if the 20-year-old me knew that, then I could have set myself on a much faster trajectory to build wealth and to build my real estate empire. Had I started 10, 15 years earlier, knowing then what I know now. So yeah, that's huge.
I absolutely agree with you, Tim, and thank you. I appreciate your service. My family does.
Oh, thank you. All right, final question. What does success look like to you? And you can take that either personally, professionally, wherever you want to take it.
Okay. Gosh, professionally, it will be that we've been able to live out that brand promise to empower our investors in the legacy that they have defined, to help them build a legacy that they can rely on, and to breathe in what it is that they've invested in, who they have invested with, and who are they investing for. That would be success for us as a company. Personally, success for me is being able to live out God's purpose that He has outlined for myself and for my husband. And through our purpose, we hope that we can help to educate others and let others help themselves in achieving what it is that they would like for their legacy.
Awesome. Hey, Srey, it has been a pleasure having you on. Please tell our listeners how they can get a hold of you and if there's anything else you'd like to share with them.
Oh, thank you. So yeah, right now, if you're interested in learning more about our organization, please go visit our website at www.Aisling Investment Group. It's AISLING. You can also find me on Instagram, might be the easiest way. It's just Rollin with the Rollins, ROLLINS. And I'd love to learn more about your listeners' journey, where they're at, where they want to go, and see if there's something we can help with. We are currently raising for a beautiful property in Milton, Connecticut. It's got a lot of great points of risk mitigation in it. And we'll see if there's anything we can help with. And if we can't help, we'll definitely point them in a right direction so they can continue to raise their financial IQ and have financial awareness, like you said.
Awesome. Sounds good. Thanks again, Srey. We'll have all that information in the show notes. I appreciate you coming on and look forward to continuing to see you do big things on your journey to multifamily millions.
Thank you, Tim. Have a good day.
You too.
Bye, everyone.